各位听众您好，这里是 IGO News， 欢迎收听美国晨间新闻会诊孔雀台观点。
Hello there, this is IGO News. Welcome to our U.S. morning news summary from a Peacock Channel perspective.
随着选举日的临近，美国正处于现代记忆中最激烈的总统竞选边缘。
As Election Day looms, the United States is on the edge of one of the closest presidential contests in modern memory.
副总统卡马拉哈里斯和前总统唐纳德特朗普都已横跨全国，奔赴关键摇摆州并动员支持者，进行最后的冲刺。
Both Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump have crisscrossed the nation, blitzing crucial battleground states and rallying their supporters in a final push.
从宾夕法尼亚到密歇根及更远的地方，这些最后的时刻充满了紧张和急切，候选人们竭尽全力动员每一位选民。
From Pennsylvania to Michigan and beyond, these final hours have brought heightened intensity and urgency as the candidates work to mobilize every last voter.
全国各地的选举官员正在为这场重要的选举日做准备，实施新的安全措施，监控可能的干扰，并为史无前例的选民投票率做好准备。
Election officials across the country are readying for a high-stakes day, implementing new security measures, monitoring for potential interference, and preparing for an unprecedented voter turnout.
已有创纪录的7600万美国人提前投票，为周二的潜在历史性投票率奠定了基础。
A record-breaking 76 million Americans have already cast their ballots, setting the stage for a potentially historic turnout on Tuesday.
哈里斯以团结与乐观的愿景作为竞选基础，他发表了最后的讲话，呼吁国家翻过分裂政治的一页。
Harris, who has run on a platform of unity and optimism, delivered a closing message calling for the country to turn the page on divisive politics.
他强调了一个以包容性、生育权、负担得起的医疗保健和中产阶级经济稳定为中心的积极未来。
She has emphasized a positive future focused on inclusivity, reproductive rights, affordable health care, and economic stability for the middle class.
在选举日前的最后一次集会上，哈里斯在费城向支持者们阐述了一个每个声音都至关重要，美国需要透过合作与同情解决问题的愿景。
In her last rally before Election Day, Harris addressed supporters in Philadelphia, sharing a vision of an America where every voice matters and where issues are addressed through collaboration and compassion.
在民心助阵和热情人群的包围下，哈里斯在可能决定选举结果的关键州发表了最后的竞选演说。
Surrounded by star power and a supportive crowd, Harris made her final pitch in the heart of a state that could be pivotal in determining the election's outcome.
他的竞选活动特别聚焦于Z世代和年轻选民，这一群体的选票在几个摇摆州被预期将具有关键作用。
Her campaign's efforts to mobilize voters have focused particularly on Gen Z and younger voters, a group whose votes are expected to be critical in several swing states.
同时，前总统特朗普则围绕恢复他所称的“美国伟大”作为核心讯息。
Meanwhile, former President Trump has centered his message around restoring what he calls American greatness.
他在北卡罗来纳州、宾夕法尼亚州和密歇根州对支持者发表演讲，重申他所称哈里斯治下的美国将面临经济灾难和个人自由的丧失。
Speaking to supporters in North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, he has doubled down on his claims that America under Harris would face economic disaster and loss of personal freedoms.
特朗普的言辞依然强硬，批评媒体，攻击哈里斯的政策，并将自己定位为传统美国价值观的捍卫者。
Trump's rhetoric has remained aggressive, criticizing the media, attacking Harris's policies, and positioning himself as a defender of traditional American values.
在一次特别激烈的讲话中，他谈到哈里斯政府的潜在危险，预测将出现经济衰退和社会动荡。
In a particularly fiery address, he spoke of the potential dangers of a Harris administration, predicting an economic depression and social turmoil.
特朗普还专注于巩固他的基本盘，吸引在2016年对他投票的农村和经济焦虑的选民。
Trump has also focused on securing his base, appealing to rural and economically anxious voters who played a large role in his 2016 victory.
他的竞选策略旨在提高共和党倾向地区的投票率，同时试图缩小哈里斯在郊区和城市地区的领先优势。
His campaign strategy has been to bolster voter turnout in Republican-leaning districts while trying to cut into Harris's lead in suburban and urban areas.
双方竞选团队都在应对最后一波全国民调数据，这些数据显示竞争激烈，全国范围内势均力敌，但在不同的摇摆州中各有微弱领先。
Both campaigns are dealing with a final wave of national polling data, which shows the race as a dead heat nationally, but with slight leads for each candidate in different battleground states.
例如，根据 NBC 新闻的最新民调显示，哈里斯和特朗普在全国登记选民中以49%持平，而在宾夕法尼亚和乔治亚等州的民调则显示竞争更加紧凑。
A recent NBC poll, for instance, shows Harris and Trump tied at 49% among registered voters nationwide, while other state-specific polls indicate a tighter race in states like Pennsylvania and Georgia.
然而，最大的惊喜来自爱荷华州，一个传统的保守选民群体似乎发生了转变。
One of the biggest surprises, however, came from Iowa, where a traditionally conservative voting bloc appears to have shifted.
被认为具有高度信誉的美英纪事报的一项民调显示，哈里斯在该州领先特朗普3个百分点，而特朗普在2020年赢得了该州近10个百分点的支持。
A poll from the Des Moines Register, considered highly reputable, placed Harris 3 points ahead of Trump in a state that he won by nearly 10 points in 2020.
这一意外转变表明，通胀、医疗保健和生育权等问题可能促使一些典型的共和党选民考虑哈里斯作为可行的替代选择。
This unexpected shift suggests that issues like inflation, healthcare, and reproductive rights might be influencing some typically Republican voters to consider Harris as a viable alternative.
爱荷华作为潜在风向标的地位引发了分析师的猜测，认为这一趋势可能蔓延至其他农村州。
Iowa's status as a potential bellwether has left analysts speculating on whether this trend might carry over into other rural states.
本次选举周期的主要关切之一是政治错误信息和选民恐吓的增长。
A significant concern this election cycle has been the rise of political misinformation and voter intimidation.
报告显示，特别来自俄罗斯和中国的外国势力正散布虚假信息，旨在破坏选民的信心。
Reports indicate that foreign actors, particularly from Russia and China, have been disseminating false information designed to undermine voter confidence.
联邦调查局已标记出多个病毒式视频，宣称显示选举欺诈的证据，但这些视频均被证实为操纵或完全捏造。
The FBI has flagged several viral videos purporting to show evidence of voter fraud, all of which have been debunked as manipulated or entirely fabricated.
此外，还出现了针对大学生的错误信息，传播消息称跨州投票的学生可能面临法律惩罚。
Additionally, there have been instances of misinformation targeting young voters on college campuses, with messages suggesting that students voting out of state could face legal penalties.
选举官员努力驳斥这些说法，重申大学生有权在其就读州投票。
Election officials have worked to counter these claims, reiterating that college students are legally allowed to vote in the state where they attend school.
在密歇根、威斯康星和北卡罗来纳等关键摇摆州，选民恐吓和错误信息成为执法部门的重点。
In key battleground states like Michigan, Wisconsin, and North Carolina, voter intimidation and misinformation have been focal points for law enforcement.
司法部已派遣选举监督员前往近30个州，准备在选票点干预任何报告的恐吓或压制行为。
The Justice Department has deployed election monitors to nearly 30 states, prepared to intervene in cases of reported intimidation or suppression at polling places.
许多投票地点加强了安全措施， 一些地区甚至安装了防弹玻璃和报警按钮，以保障选举工作人员的安全。
Many polling locations have added additional security, with some areas opting to install bulletproof glass and panic buttons for election workers.
在费城、亚特兰大和密尔沃基等大城市，警察随时待命，以应对潜在的干扰。志愿者们也在组织帮助选民解答问题或缓解顾虑。
In major cities like Philadelphia, Atlanta, and Milwaukee, police are on standby to manage potential disturbances, while volunteers are organizing to assist voters with any questions or concerns.
哈里斯在许多吸引民主党选民的议题上表明了立场，特别是对女性和年轻人。
Harris has taken a stance on many issues that resonate with Democratic voters, particularly women and young people.
他承诺捍卫生育权，包括在最高法院去年推翻罗素韦德案后推动堕胎保护法。
She has promised to safeguard reproductive rights, including efforts to codify abortion protections following the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade last year.
这一立场为他赢得了全国各地女性选民的广泛支持，并在竞选最后几周中成为其信息的核心。
This stance has garnered her significant support from female voters across the country, and her campaign has made the issue central to their messaging in the final weeks.
同样的，他对医疗改革和气候行动表示强烈支持，这些议题在年轻选民中受到了良好反响。
Similarly, she has voiced strong support for healthcare reform and climate action, issues that have polled well among younger demographics.
哈里斯的竞选活动还强调希望与韧性，将此次选举描绘为朝向进步与包容性重置国家方向的机会。
Harris's campaign has also leaned into the idea of hope and resilience, framing the election as an opportunity to reset the country's course toward progress and inclusivity.
另一方面，特朗普将他的诉求集中在经济问题上，认为投票给他就是投票恢复他所称的由其政府带来的疫情前经济增长。
Trump, on the other hand, has focused his appeal on economic concerns, suggesting that a vote for him is a vote to restore the pre-pandemic economic growth he attributes to his administration.
他经常指出通胀、生活成本和哈里斯政策对小企业的影响，将自己描绘为关心选民财务状况的更强大选择。
He has frequently pointed to inflation, the cost of living, and the impact of Harris's policies on small businesses, casting himself as the stronger choice for voters concerned about their financial well-being.
特朗普批评哈里斯的移民和边境安全立场，警告如果他当选，犯罪率将增加，就业机会将减少。
Trump has criticized Harris's stance on immigration and border security, warning of increased crime and job losses should she win.
此信息对特朗普的基本盘非常具有吸引力，他们视他为法律与秩序以及国家安全的捍卫者。
This message resonates strongly with Trump's base, who see him as a champion for law and order and national security.
特朗普的竞选活动继续吸引大量人群，这被他的团队视为表现热情及选举日高投票率的潜力信号。
Trump's campaign has continued to draw large crowds, a factor his team believes signals enthusiasm and potential for high turnout on Election Day.
预计投票率将创历史新高，由双方高度的热情和紧迫感所推动。
Voter turnout is expected to be unprecedented, fueled by high levels of enthusiasm and urgency on both sides.
根据最近的报道，已有7600万美国人通过提前投票或邮寄选票投票，这一创纪录的数字暗示了选举日的强大参与。
According to recent reports, 76 million Americans have already cast their ballots through early voting or mail-in ballots, a record-breaking figure that hints at robust participation on Election Day.
地方选举官员正在为排队等待和可能的延长投票时间做准备，尤其是在摇摆州。
Local election officials are preparing for long lines and potentially extended hours, particularly in battleground states.
在宾夕法尼亚和乔治亚，官员们鼓励选民提早抵达，携带身份证件，并在等待投票时保持耐心。
In Pennsylvania and Georgia, officials are encouraging voters to arrive early, bring identification, and remain patient as they await their turn to cast their vote.
在社交媒体上，投票参与活动强调了个人选票的力量，许多活动都针对尚未决定的选民和首次投票者。
Across social media, voter turnout efforts have emphasized the power of the individual vote, with many campaigns targeting undecided voters and first-time participants.
为了缓解紧张情绪，一项名为“为投票而奏”的全国性音乐活动招募了成千上万的音乐家在投票站外演奏，希望为选民带来平静和社区感。
In a surprising move aimed at de-escalating tensions, a nationwide music initiative called Play for the Vote has recruited thousands of musicians to perform outside polling locations, hoping to bring a sense of calm and community to voters.
该活动于2020年成立，今年获得了显著的支持。50州的音乐家们登记参加，以音乐欢迎排队等候投票的选民。
Founded in 2020, the initiative has gained significant support this year, with musicians in all 50 states signing up to serenade voters as they wait in line.
著名的大提琴家马友友是该活动的支持者之一，鼓励各种音乐家参与其中。
Renowned cellist Yo-Yo Ma is one of the supporters of the movement, encouraging musicians of all kinds to participate.
这种创意方法为投票站带来了正面关注，许多选民分享了他们在等待投票时因音乐而感到平静和愉快的经历。
This creative approach to supporting voter turnout has brought positive attention to polling sites, and many voters have shared their experiences of finding music calming and enjoyable as they waited to vote.
随着投票即将开始，安全团队、志愿者和竞选官员都在为可能长时间紧张的夜晚做准备。
As the polls prepare to open, security teams, volunteers, and campaign officials alike are bracing for what could be a long and tense night.
选举日的报道将聚焦于佛罗里达和北卡罗来纳等东海岸州的早期结果，而中西部，包括密歇根、威斯康星和宾夕法尼亚等州，可能会因邮寄和提前投票的数量而延长计票时间。
Election day coverage will focus on early returns in East Coast states like Florida and North Carolina, while the Midwest, including states like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, will likely see extended counting periods due to the volume of mail-in and early votes.
亚利桑那和内华达两个西部摇摆州也可能成为关键，最终结果可能会推迟至周三或更晚。
Arizona and Nevada, two Western battlegrounds, could also be pivotal, with final results potentially delayed until Wednesday or later.
双方竞选团队正在为可能的接近结果和在特别紧凑的竞选中可能的法律挑战做准备。
Both campaigns are preparing for the possibility of a close result and the potential for legal challenges in particularly tight races.
在差距极小的州，重新计票和法庭斗争可能成为选后情势不可避免的一部分。
In states where the margin is razor thin, recounts and court battles could become an inevitable part of the post-election landscape.
尽管可能出现这些延迟，数百万美国人将抱着他们的选择能帮助塑造国家未来的信念投票。
Despite these potential delays, millions of Americans will cast their ballots with the belief that their choice can help shape the future of the country.
下一任总统将面临一系列挑战，从经济复苏和医疗改革到气候行动和外交政策，这些问题的重量推动了历史性的投票率。
The next president will face a host of challenges, from economic recovery and healthcare reform to climate action and foreign policy, and the weight of these issues has driven historic voter turnout.
随着两个竞选团队进行最后的诉求，美国人民很快将决定他们认为最适合国家未来的道路。
With both campaigns making their final appeals, the American people will soon decide which path they believe offers the best vision for the country.
在这些最后时刻，候选人和选民都在反思这次选举的重要性及其对美国未来的潜在影响。
In these final moments, candidates and voters alike reflect on the significance of this election and the impact it could have on America's future.
两个竞选团队都敦促美国人行使他们的投票权，提醒他们每一票都很重要，每一个声音都不可忽视。
Both campaigns urge Americans to exercise their right to vote, reminding them that every vote counts and every voice matters.
随着全国等待选举结果，经济复苏、社会稳定的未来，以及美国民主的命运，都掌握在即将参加这场美国历史上最重要选举之一的数百万人手中。
As the nation awaits the results, the future of American democracy, economic recovery, and social stability rests in the hands of millions who will head to the polls in what has become one of the most momentous elections in U.S. history.
以上新闻资讯整理自孔雀台，由 iGo News 编辑播报。感谢您的收听，期待与您空中再会。
The above news information is compiled from a Peacock channel and presented by iGo News. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to your continued company on the air.